You are very, very welcome to today's session. I kick off the Future You program. So Monday morning, nice and early, and today we will be looking at building self-confidence, little changes but big differences. So throughout the whole of this week, there will be a lot of exciting sessions. So make sure you check out the website, and if you haven't booked into those sessions, please make sure you do. So it will really help you whether you are in first year, second year, maybe you are on placement at the moment, and definitely for the soon-to-be graduates who are graduating this summer, this program is designed to help you through every step of the way. So I'm Stella, I'm one of the employability advisors. I look after Belfast campus, and I also have Hannah here who looks after the Nikki campus. So at the end of these sessions, if you have any questions, any careers related questions, please do come and speak to your employability advisors, or you can just contact us through the general email careers@ulster.ac.uk. And just to emphasize that even if you have graduated, we do still provide our services to you. So whether it is 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, let's hope that you don't need our services. Let's hope that in a couple of years' time you will be very happy in your career, in your jobs, that you don't need our help. But just to let you know that we are here to help every step of the way, even after graduation. Okay, so in this session, it is a self-guide to self-reflection and going forward, especially the soon-to-be graduates, look at how to implement new small habits to ease you into the process of transitioning into the world of work. Because a lot of us, I don't know whether you guys are the same, but we are very good at planning. We are very good at looking in the future what we want to do, but it's the little small habits, the actions that are key that will make the impact. So it's very important that it's not just about this vision board, it's not just about planning, but actually putting things into action and make it happen. Okay, and additionally, this session will explore ways to identify your strengths and weaknesses. So if you don't know what they are, how can you sell your strengths? And if you don't know your weaknesses, how can you improve on them? And also generally how to increase positivity and be ready for the next step of your employability journey. So we will specifically look at how to explore the experiences that you have had in the past and how to put that into action, or how to sell it to your potential employers, how to identify the skills based on those experiences, as well as creating evidence, because it's all good and well with all of these experiences in the past, and especially if you are a graduate, you probably have a few few good experiences under your belt. For example, maybe it's placement, maybe it's internship. So there's bound to be loads of skills that you can identify, but how do you actually adequately and effectively create those evidence and sell those in, whether it's on your CV, on your LinkedIn profile, whatever format, shape and form, make sure that you are selling your evidence in the most effective way. And then generally some hints and tips on how to build and demonstrate that confidence. Okay, but first of all, let's look at why. Okay, why should we develop greater self-confidence? It's probably very, very obvious why, but these are just some of the reasons. Okay, it makes you more assertive. Okay, it makes you have the confidence to stand up for yourself and also defend yourself, but not in an intimidating way. And it helps you to take control of your life, okay, but also help you control the feelings of things that you can't control. Okay, I'm sure you have heard of people saying that you can't control everything. Try to control the controllables. Okay, but whenever things are out of control, especially with the last couple of years that we are living in, there are loads of things that are out of our control. So some people might find that very might increase anxiousness. It might be very like very nerve-wracking, but it's in terms of confidence, in terms of people with self-confidence, they will concentrate on controlling the controllable and how to control their feelings whenever they're faced with things that they can't control. Okay. Another reason why you should develop self-confidence is to reduce your fear of criticism and rejection, because rejection coupled with low self-esteem can actually stop you from acting altogether, and you don't want that. And it also makes you braver and more resilient, so that whenever you're faced with adversity, you know how to bounce back, and you know how to bounce back quicker. And generally, it can make your life better because it will make you more compassionate and empathetic toward other people, okay, towards other people and making that impact. And generally, it probably can make you feel happier because the positive thinking kicks in rather than moaning about it and rather than complaining. The self-confident people with greater self-confidence will tend to be more positive in terms of their thinking. And it can increase your chances of success because you will be grabbing onto opportunities with two hands. And last but not least, it can boost your leadership skills, because if you're not convinced yourself that you have these skills and ability and the self-confidence, how can you convince others? Okay. But first, let's look at self-awareness. Okay. Some students or some graduates think that they are lacking self-confidence, but in reality, they're actually lacking self-awareness. Okay, so what is self-awareness? First of all, self-awareness can be defined as the knowledge that you acquire that relates to different facets of your personality, including, okay, so it's what you have. Okay, it might sound quite simple, like who am I? What do I have? What skills do I have? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? But if you haven't really took the time to explore, identify all those strengths and weaknesses, beliefs, interests, motivations, and emotions, it's very hard to put them into, let's say, a package in a nice way to deliver that in an interview scenario. Okay, and if you don't know what you have, how can you sell it in a very convincing and effective way? So I would highly encourage, for those who are here today, I also highly encourage my students that self-awareness is the foundation of the employability journey, okay? Because again, if you don't know what you have, how can you sell it effectively? And then in terms of strengths and weaknesses, what I said earlier on, if you don't know what you have, how can you sell it effectively? But likewise, if you don't know what your weaknesses are, how are you going to plan and improve on those weaknesses? Because you need to identify them in order to progress, in order to improve. Okay. And self-awareness, it is a process that helps you to get to know yourself better and identify your career needs. It doesn't happen overnight. It does take a bit of work, exploration, time, and it's a progressive progress. So it's not like, oh, I know what I have now and that just stops there. No, absolutely not. From a first year student right up to graduate, right up until your 5 years in your career, all of that can change. Okay, your strengths and weaknesses could change, your beliefs could change, and your interests, motivations, and emotions. So it's very useful to keep tab on your self-awareness every now and then. Actually, whenever you're highlighting it in your CV or highlight it in any type of recruitment documents, to make sure you know what you have. Okay. And I know that this is a Monday morning session, and I have just been talking for the last 10 minutes or so, but I want to push the ball over to you for a second or so. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to share all these in the chat box, but I'm just going to give you about a minute or two just to have a feel of these type of questions, okay? So answer these 3 questions just in your head, okay? Can you identify your strengths? Can you identify areas for development? And what are the 3 things you would like to do right now today to make a change. Okay, I'll just be quiet for about a minute or so just to let you have a wee think about the first 3 questions. Okay. And if you're welcome, you are more than welcome to share it in the chat box if you want, or if you want to, you can unmute yourself. That's absolutely fine as well. But of course, it's very personal, so I'm not going to ask you to share. It's not compulsory. Okay, so whenever you have kind of gathered the answers to the first 3 questions, let's look at the next 4 statements. Okay, so if you can, like again in your own head, finish the sentence, I do my best when, and I struggle when, I'm comfortable when, and I feel stressed when. Sometimes it's the first answer in your head that is the most truthful one. Sometimes in terms of self-awareness, if the more you think about it, the more you're stepping away from the true answer. So if you can, if there was an impulse kind of answer that's sprung to your head, great. But if there isn't, that's fine as well. Okay, just another couple, maybe 10, 15 seconds. Okay, so the reason why I did this very quick exercise is I do this in class as well. Some of you probably have been in my class. The reason why I do this is not because to get the answer. Okay, ultimately you would want the answer, but it's almost like a very quick acid test to see where you are right now. Okay, so imagine if someone in the interview asks you, can you identify your strengths? If you haven't even thought about it in the past, or you haven't had the chance to answer that question in an interview, it can be very difficult to find something plucked from the sky, left, right, and center, just to make something up, isn't it? So that's why I do this very quick and simple test, just for you to know how much you know about yourself. And if you struggled in any of the first 3 questions, or in fact the 4 statements at the bottom there, it is indication for you to look at these areas in a little bit more detail, especially before you go into an interview. Okay, and the second question, can you identify areas for development? Essentially, that means what are your weaknesses? And then the 3 things you would like to do right now to make a change. Because remember, at the end of the day, this session is about those small habits. Okay, it's all well and good to identify your strengths, identify your weaknesses, but if you don't have a plan to overcome those weaknesses, then it will just be on the paper. Okay, so the 3 things that you would like to do right now to make a positive change that will create the impact. Likewise, with the 4 statements at the end, I do best when, I struggle when, I feel comfortable when, and I feel stressed when. It's not directly related to academia, it's not directly related to professional setting, but it's just, again, a little bit more indication of who you are, what do you have, what are your abilities, and and even to a certain extent what of your personality. Okay, so I would highly encourage you guys to reflect on that after today's session, and if you need any help with that, please contact myself. Okay, so remember what I said earlier on, actually a few times now, if you don't know what you have, how can you sell it? Okay, so that is why the self-awareness piece is so important, because if you are not self-aware on what you have, how can you sell it effectively? Okay, so as a graduate, let's say that there are a number of graduates in this session today. You probably will have a few experience in the past, whether it's placement, internships, or other type of commitments. So all of that counts. Okay, some students might think that, oh, the job that I'm going for has nothing to do with the placement that I did or in the past or my current part-time job. That's not true at all. It's the transferable skills that you have that makes the difference, and that is the skills that the interviewer is very interested in hearing more about. So if you're struggling, or if you don't know how to go around it, how to make your placement or your part-time job or any other experiences relevant to the job that you are applying for, we are here to help you with that. So don't worry too much about that. So for some of you guys, you might have part-time job, placement, internships, clubs and societies as part of the student union or outside of uni. That's okay as well. Academic, are you on the dean's list? Have you done any volunteering in the past? Whether you have teaching or tutoring experiences, any extracurricular activities. For example, someone mentioned about the EDGE award earlier on. That would be very useful to put into your CVE and talk about in your interview, and any other work experiences that you might have in the past. Okay, so now you have an idea of what type of experiences that you can sell. Where can you create that evidence? First and foremost, the most common way of showcasing your skills and showcasing everything that you have is through your CV. Okay, generally speaking, more so in the skills profile section, but I would highly encourage you to weave it in all parts of your CV, and that is a technique itself. And my colleague Laura will be looking at CVs as part of the Future You program. I think it's on the Wednesday, so please do check it out, and also other sessions as well, and you'll find other sessions in the Future You website. Okay, and cover letter. Okay, so there's a 50-50 chance that the CV will be read first. The other 50% is that your cover letter will be read first. So of course, just like the CV, it's a factual document. It's a recruitment process. It's part of the recruitment process. So you will have to talk about your specific skills and experiences that directly relate to the job that you are applying for. And just like the CV, we can look at your cover letter as well. We can check it over before you send it out. That is particularly important if you haven't heard before, because you cannot make the first impression twice. So creating this evidence, all is good and well, but make sure you have it checked over before you send it off to an employer, because once you have made that first impression, and let's say hypothetically there are loads of mistakes, let's say typos, spelling mistake, grammar mistakes, already your confidence will be knocked, okay, because they will be looking at your documents and they won't be happy with all the mistakes. So make sure that you have it checked. Where else can you create that evidence? In the interview, okay, talk about the example experience of particular skill. Don't forget to use the STAR model, and if you haven't heard of the STAR model, it stands for situation, task, action, results. Again, there is another session as part of the Future You program that my colleague Gail is going to look after, and I think it's on a Thursday, so please double check on that in the Future You website. And if you have time, go to that to learn more about interviews and interview skills and techniques. And LinkedIn, Okay, it is essentially an online version of your CV, and more people, more and more employers are using LinkedIn to recruit people, to almost headhunt some graduates as well. So make sure that your LinkedIn profile is beaming with all of your skills and abilities, so that if someone do come across it, they will be impressed and they probably will contact you after reading your LinkedIn profile. Okay. Some other hints and tips on how to demonstrate confidence. So this is more about the habits now. Okay. So common sense is don't criticize yourself. Like, as human beings, we are very harsh on ourselves. Whenever we make some mistake, we kind of amplify that, and we think that it's, well, some people might think that it's the end of the world, but every experience, even though it's a negative experience, is a learning experience. It's what you do afterwards is the most important part. Okay, you can feel down for a period of time, and of course we're only human beings. We can't just jump back or bounce back immediately, but let yourself feel upset or disappointed for a while. But what do you do after that? How do you bounce back, and what would be your plan of action not to do that thing or make that same mistake again? That is the key. Okay, and then common sense, of course, is that don't criticize others, because that's just rude. Okay, and accentuate the positives and eliminate the negatives. This is easier said than done. Okay, so practice makes perfect, and try to. Okay, not saying that this will work like 10 out of 10 times, but it is easier said than done. So try to accentuate the positives and eliminate the negatives, and speak your mind and speak it gracefully. Okay, try not to intimidate others, and ask people questions. As students, as graduates, a lot of people, I'm sure in lectures as well, lecturers will encourage you to ask questions, because there's no such thing as a silly question. Because if you don't know, you don't know. Okay, it's as simple as that. And in order for you to know, you have to ask that question. And confident people tends to be a bit better at that. So try to. Okay. And I know, just like the accentuate the positives and eliminating negatives, it is easier said than done, but push yourself out there. Okay, step out of your comfort zone. I'm actually fast forwarding here. So think about social confidence. So not just in academia and also in a professional sense, but how do you act in like a social setting, in relationships, in family, with friends. Think about that as well. Take your time. It is a process, but demonstrating confidence, for people that doesn't come naturally. Process, and let me assure you, the more you have under your belt and the more experiences that you embark on, it will make it better. Okay, it will make the process a little bit better. I can see that my internet dipped a little bit. Is my audio still okay? Can someone please tell me in the chat?
You're still okay there, still.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Hannah. Yeah, it just dipped a little bit there now. But last but not least, step out of your comfort zone. Do things that you haven't, do things that you have thought about, but it scares you a little. Why not? Just push yourself that little step further. Okay, what is the worst that could happen? Okay, ask yourself that. What is the worst that could happen? Once you have done something that you haven't done in the past, and it actually took you a lot of courage to do, it's quite exhilarating. Okay, so try to look out for opportunities like that and push yourself out of your comfort zone, because that way is the best way to learn new skills. And apart from those habits that I just talked to, there's also different things that you do and say, and how you say it can actually come across to showcasing to other people whether you are a confident person or not. And one of the things is the non-verbal communication. So it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So pay attention to your facial expression. Like, For example, even if you're very positive, but you have a frown on your face, that meaning that the context will be taken in a different way. And also body posture, like if you have your arms closed all the time and your legs closed, it all automatically feels like you're trying to guard yourself. So whenever you're presenting, let's take presenting a presentation as an example. If you have your arms closed the whole time and not using your hands to demonstrate or those little gestures to explain yourself, it can be a little bit off-putting. So I'm sure that you haven't really seen a lecturer with their arms closed the whole time that they are teaching. So pay attention to body postures and little gestures. Another thing about body posture is if you're in an interview, sit up straight, okay? Common sense, but you'll be surprised about how many people will actually just start to relax a little bit and start slouching on the chair. That again just shows well, lack of enthusiasm, lack of professionalism. So those tiny things count, okay? So make sure you pay attention to that. And then I mentioned about gesture, eye contact, okay? People who shy away from eye contact immediately shows lack of confidence. That makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, so make sure that you maintain eye contact, whether it is in an interview, whether you are talking to someone, presenting to a point that it's comfortable, of course, like try not to glare at the other person, but maintaining eye contact. And one tip that I can give you is that if you find it difficult to maintain eye contact with the person that you are talking to, look at their eyebrows instead. Okay, so you are still looking at them, but it kind of softens the eye contact slightly, that you're not glaring right into their eyes. Okay, so look at their eyebrows instead. And pay attention to your tone of voice. Okay, especially if you're presenting. Okay, that you are not monotoning it throughout the whole session. Try to go up and down slightly, making sure that you're projecting your voice and effectively, and especially in a large room, and making sure that the back of the room can hear you, and that your pace, your tone is all correct for your audience to pay attention to you. Okay, some other hints and tips. Face your fears. Okay, we all have fears. There's no way of going around it. Even the most confident person, I would say that they're fearful of something or someone. Okay, so the key is to identify that fear and do something about it. Okay, let's use presenting as an example. Okay, a lot of people might find presenting quite nerve-wracking. So what do you do? Well, practice. First of all, practice makes perfect. And you might want to buddy up with someone so that you can present in front of them as practice. They might be able to give you some constructive criticism. And then that way it will be the best way to improve on that. Silence that little voice in your head. I'm sure that you guys have heard of the what is it, glass half full and glass half empty. Okay, so depending on what your outlook in life is and how you look at certain things, it does make a difference to whether it makes a difference to your confidence level. So if there's things that are little voice in your head saying that, oh, I can't do that, oh, that's too hard, or there's no way I could ever achieve that, you're already lost. Okay, half the battle is lost already. So you will have to go in to whatever experience that you are going to go into with that positivism. Okay, making sure that that little voice, if it's a negative voice, try to silence it and try to volume up the positive, that I can do this. What's the worst that could happen? Let's bring it on. Try to raise the voice, raise that voice in your head rather than the one that is complaining or doubting yourself. Okay. Set clear and realistic goals. Okay, I'm sure you guys have heard of the SMART goals before. Making sure that they're clear and realistic. And don't I'm not saying that don't bound yourself in terms of timing, but if you haven't done something, try to tell yourself that it's just I haven't done it yet. Okay, putting yourself under too much time pressure can counteract the feeling of like being a failure. Okay, I don't really like to use that word, but if you haven't achieved something by maybe next month, you might think, oh, I failed. But you haven't, you just haven't done it yet. Okay, it is ongoing. Not saying that you're going to take like 10 years to do it, but try to give yourself some space to set those clear and realistic goals. And be ready for setbacks. I'm not going to lie. The recruitment process, you know that it is going to be competitive and you will be faced with rejections if you're, some of you might be lucky enough and not, but most of the candidates who have just recently graduated, they're not going to get the first job that they apply for or they have interviewed for. So you will have to be ready for being rejected. And but the most important thing is how do you pick yourself back up and keep on going? Okay, there are resilience workshops throughout this Future You program. So again, go to our Future You website to look for that. Develop your skills and competence, and your skills will develop over time. Like if you look back, some of you guys might be in first year right now, but let's look back from where you were in high school. Like from high school to where you are right now, I'm sure you have developed some skills. You have 1 year under your belt, or maybe 2 years of under your belt, and for the graduates, you have a whole degree under your belt. What type of skills have you developed? Making sure that you keep track of them, it's just as important because you have to know what you have in order to sell. And learn to deal with criticism. There's a saying, if you don't want criticism, then do nothing, say nothing, and then you will achieve nothing. Okay, the only way that you can avoid criticism is doing nothing. And we don't want that. In order for us to progress, in order for us to learn, we have to keep on moving, even though that we might be faced with experiences that we're not very good at. But that's okay. Every experience is a learning experience. Every experience is a learning experience, and you have to learn how to deal with the constructive criticism that comes with it. Okay. Now, let's take a couple minutes to look at mindset. Okay, I'm sure some of you guys have heard of growth mindset before. Okay, so just to give you a very brief overview of fixed mindset versus growth mindset. So people with fixed mindsets, again, I'm not going to ask you to share whether you are a fixed mindset person or a growth mindset person, but you can identify yourself as I go through this slide here. In terms of skills, a fixed mindset person thinks that their skills are born or that they're born with it. Okay, it cannot be improved. Whereas on the other hand, the growth mindset person, they believe that if you work hard at something, anything can be achieved and can always be improved in terms of their skills. Okay, so just have a think about that. Where do you belong to? Which column do you belong to? Next is challenges. Okay, fixed mindset people tend to avoid new challenges because they want to stay within their comfort zone. They don't want to verge out into new opportunities or new experiences because being out there, out of their comfort zone, scares them. Okay, and they tend to give up easily whenever they're faced with challenges. Whereas on the other hand, growth mindset or people with growth mindset, they think that challenges should be embraced and is an opportunity for them to grow and be more persistent. On the other hand, with the effort, fixed mindset people think that is unnecessary. There's no point. It's all determined. It's all set in stone. It's something you do when you are not good enough. Okay. Whereas the growth mindset people with growth mindset, they think it's essential. Okay, it's a path to mastery, and they're not afraid of hard work. In terms of feedback, whenever a fixed mindset person is faced with constructive criticism or criticism, whether it's constructive or not, they get defensive. Okay, they'll be like, nope, that's not me. I didn't do that. I'm right. You're wrong. They might take it personal as well. Whereas a person with growth mindset, they will soak it all up. They will reflect on that. They find that feedback is useful for them to improve and for them to achieve other experiences in the future. And they also think that it's something to learn from and identify areas to improve. So continuously looking for ways to improve themselves, to learn through new challenges. And in terms of setbacks, fixed mindset people tend to blame others or get discouraged altogether. And then on the other hand, growth mindset people, they use it as a wake-up call to work harder the next time. So they do not give up. So that is the difference. So again, I'm not going to ask you to share whether you are a fixed mindset or a growth mindset person, but this slide is just to give you an idea. And again, just like the acid test earlier on, where do you fall? And of course, you would try to move towards a growth mindset mentality. Okay. If you want to know a little bit more about this or try to improve yourself with regards to growth mindset, again, talk to your employability advisor. We are here to help you every step of the way. Now, this is just a plug. This is a new opportunity, and you guys, it just opened up very, very recently, so I thought that I'll just slide in this slide for you. So it's a Sure Skill Academy. It is open to recent graduates, so you will get the slides. You can download these slides that I have just took you through Handshake afterwards. So, or I could send it to you directly. So if you're interested in something like this, do check it out. And also throughout the rest of this week, there are loads of events, and this is just a handful. This is not the definitive list. If there are some that you can that you're interested in, please make sure you go online and register on the Handshake so that you have the link to join the sessions. So as I said before, there is one on CVs, there's one about supercharging your interview skills, digital readiness, which probably could include LinkedIn as well, expanding your network, postgraduate study, or if you want to take an ultimate gap year. So loads of other sessions. This is just the first one, and you are more than welcome to go to all of them if you have the time. Okay, so thank you very much for listening to me for the past 45 minutes. And if you have any questions, please put it into the chat box.